Hey Summoners, welcome to another ProGuides video. With the success of our last video on Clash team compositions and your guys' feedback, we decided to make another one. We know a lot of you guys are serious about the competition and we want to help you find success. Make sure to leave any feedback or suggestions in the comment section below because honestly, we're always reading them. For our question of the day, how do you get yourself ready for important matches? Personally, I like to listen to some music to get myself pumped up and wake myself up. Are you guys getting ganked in your own lane? Constantly demolished? Don't worry, we got you covered. ProGuides is the #1 proven way to quickly help you level up your League of Legends skills. Whether you're looking for tier lists, champion guides, coaching, or courses from your favorite pro players, ProGuides is where you'll find them. Even players like Nightblue, Bunny Fufu, and Loco Doco support ProGuides. So what are you waiting for? Click the link to start improving right now. And let's get started with the video. As teammates, you can be honest with each other and build team comps around your best player. We're going to cover 5 team compositions alongside 5 others that can beat them in this video. You'll want to assess as a team the team compositions that are most likely to yield success based on your previous track records. You can always trade out any picks as well, just take note of the general idea behind these team compositions. The first team composition we want to mention is Darius top, Zac jungle, Ahri mid, and Caitlyn and Nautilus bottom. Admittedly, this team composition basically relies on abusing broken picks, most notably Darius. He's extremely oppressive at the moment, and I'm sure many of you guys can agree if you've been playing any solo queue as of late. Caitlyn and Nautilus are self-sufficient in the bottom lane, while Ahri and Zac can aim to assist Darius in creating leads through ganks or dives. As the mid-game comes around, you'll be able to either teamfight or send Darius into a side lane based on how the game is going. While Darius has difficulty accessing the back line, this is exactly why Nautilus and Zac, or similar champions, are essential. Having hard engage somewhere in your team composition makes it so much easier for Darius to do his job and pop off during team fights. If you're trying to first pick Darius, it honestly might be worth it to throw all 3 of your initial bans at the top lane. Banning picks like Kled or Malphite will make it a lot easier for Darius to find leads. It's worth noting that you're also free to run Ghost instead of Teleport if you prefer it. Snowballing and finding leads is much more important than potentially being able to teleport to match a play. You can always make a cross-map play instead of matching the enemy's team. While Darius is a pretty oppressive pick and the rest of this team composition functions quite well on its own as well, there are definitely ways around this. During your draft phase, it's important that you need to at least find one matchup that can counter or go even with the enemy team. An essential answer is in the bottom lane. By crafting a duo such as Ashe Morgana, you can contest bot lane priority and also create some pressure on the other side of the map. For the top lane, if you can't draft a hard counter matchup into Darius, you're best off picking Ornn because of how self-sufficient he is. It's reasonable to assume he'll do fine by himself, and you can focus your attention on the bottom lane instead. By picking Olaf, you'll have a ton of early game pressure, so he can either look to snowball bottom or find some early ganks elsewhere on the map to get his team rolling. Since he's so strong in the early game, it's definitely possible for him to carry fights that break out even without too much help from his laners. You'll want to pick Kassadin middle because it puts the enemy team on a timer. If they're unable to create early leads and accelerate the game, they're eventually going to lose to the immense pressure that Kassadin can exert. Our next team composition focuses more heavily on lane dominance. All of these lanes are quite powerful during the early game. Renekton top, Echo jungle, Zed mid, and Jhin and Zyra bottom. There are gank opportunities in every lane since top and bottom lane both have excellent setup. In the mid lane, both Zed and Echo are excellent at turret diving, so it's definitely not going to be a fun time for the enemy mid laner if they randomly lose half of their health. The biggest strength of this team composition is its lane phase and damage split. Every champion on this team comp deals a decent amount of damage. With early game leads, they can transition into a 1-3-1 since Zyra, Jhin, and Echo usually have little difficulty disengaging and holding their own as a trio. It's really important that you make sure you can pick up Zyra for her disengage, and Echo because this team composition already has so much physical damage. While the top lane, mid lane, and bot laner in this team composition are interchangeable, you need to make an effort to have as many winning or even matchups as possible to make it work. The way around this team composition is to draft as many winning lanes against it as possible. Without early game leads, it'll be difficult to transition into a 1-3-1, and it'll eventually fall off. Our analysts suggest the following team composition to counter it: Ornn top, Ivern jungle, Malphite or Garen mid, and Ashe and Leona bottom. When facing the previous composition we mentioned, this one already has 2 winning matchups in the top and mid lane. It'll be much harder for these usual lane bullies to find their own leads when they play against champions who usually beat them outright. In the bottom lane, you'll want to punish an immobile, utility-centered bottom lane with an extremely aggressive one, like Ashe and Leona. By running Ivern as the jungler, this adds some extra peel and utility to help nullify assassins or divers on the enemy team. Next up is another team fighting composition. Every team dreams of pulling off sick wombo combos, so if team fighting is your strength, you'll definitely want to take advantage of this team composition. Ornn or Sion top, Jarvan jungle, Vel'Koz mid, and Misfortune and Nautilus bottom. The potential for insane team fights is real with this one. A top lane tank alongside Jarvan makes hard engaging fights a simple task. Vel'Koz mid provides a ton of wave clear and an excellent carry for team fights. Personally, I feel like too many players underestimate the amount of damage he does, and he's currently seeing a decent amount of success in solo queue. What you need to do with this team composition is utilize Jarvan's powerful early ganks to create leads somewhere on the map. As you transition into the mid game, you'll ideally be even or ahead of your opponents and ready to pull the trigger. This team composition has a ton of crowd control, engage, and diving potential. You have to take advantage of this since you have very poor split pushing. Play around neutral objectives and force as many team fights as you can. By catching multiple enemies in Jarvan's ultimate, it should be easy to follow up with a nasty Vel'Koz or Misfortune ultimate. Like we just mentioned, split pushing is a great answer to the previous team comp, so running this one should help you take on a team fight heavy composition. Fiora top, Zac jungle, Syndra mid, and Jinx and Morgana bottom should get the job done. You'll want Fiora or a similar split pushing champion so that you can put your opponents into a scenario where they have no choice but to make a play. If they take it too slow, you'll be able to take turrets and win the game. By running a gank heavy jungler like Zac alongside a high kill pressure mid laner like Syndra, you can punish a less mobile enemy mid laner. While this team doesn't have an insane 1-3-1, it does have a pretty strong 1-4 setup as they have a solid team fighting foundation. Up next, we have another team composition that revolves around team fighting. The catch though, pun intended, is that this one also has some great pick-making potential as well. This team composition is Malphite top, Jarvan jungle, Malzahar mid, and Misfortune and Blitzcrank bottom. Ideally, you'll place Malphite against an AD top laner as he definitely won't have a good time against ones that deal magic damage. Jarvan and Malzahar are flexible picks that work in basically any team composition, but in this one they act as a roaming duo. Their damage and crowd control allows them to roam to either bot or top as a duo whenever Malzahar can take lane priority. If their enemies don't respect the roam, it's practically a guaranteed takedown or turret dive. Down in the bottom lane, Misfortune and Blitzcrank act as an aggressive, powerful lane duo. Just like the other team fighting composition we mentioned, there's a lot of potential for some wombo combos with Jarvan, Misfortune, and Malphite. However, this team composition also has plenty of ways to catch out any mispositioned targets. Blitzcrank pull, Jarvan ult, Malphite ult, and Malzahar ult are all great tools to pick out enemies who are out of position, or while they're rotating somewhere. If Malphite ends up in a good matchup, this is also a team composition that can potentially 1-3-1. Since Malzahar and Malphite don't take turrets very quickly, it's best to simply push waves in and rotate afterwards to make plays as a group of 5. Nevertheless, the option is still there as both of them tend to run teleport. In order to counter this team composition, we suggest running a team like Mordekaiser top, Kha'Zix jungle, Echo mid, and Ashe and Morgana bottom. You want solo laners who can contest the potential 1-3-1s later into the game, and also find early game leads as well. By picking Mordekaiser, you secure one of the best top laners in the game, while also counter-picking a Malphite pick up in the top lane. Although Malphite can abandon his lane to get out of the matchup, if he's not able to successfully make a play elsewhere, he'll gradually fall further and further behind his lane opponent. Echo's safety as a result of his ultimate also helps him apply pressure against Malzahar. Even if he gets ganked, it's not that simple for his opponents to take him out, since he can cast Chrono Break to recover a bunch of his health. Make sure to build a Quicksilver Sash later into the game so that you don't get bursted down during a Malzahar ultimate. Ashe and Morgana do fine into Misfortune and Blitzcrank and can instead apply kill pressure against them, especially after level 6. You'll want to pick Kha'Zix jungle because he counters Jarvan in the jungle with his insane isolation damage and because he can try to assassinate the enemy carries during fights. While he might not see much professional play, Nocturne might be one of the best champions to create leads in coordinated play. Some of you guys might even remember Worlds 2017 when Gigabyte Marines funneled Levi's Nocturne for a fast 6. By running Shen and Orianna as your solo laners, you can really enable Nocturne's full potential. When he turns off the lights and jumps in, there are two things that the enemy team will have to account for. Shen can always join him using his ultimate, meaning that if you had plans to 1v1 him, you'd best think again. Another option is to instead use Nocturne as a delivery system for Orianna's ball. setting up some montage-worthy ultimates. Nocturne's ultimate range, alongside the fact that he darkens the map, can create a lot of confusion, and allow him to set up wombo combos by diving straight in. You'll want a team comp that plays front to back with tons of peel, so it makes sense to run Caitlyn and Janna in the bottom lane. The reason for this is that you want to let Shen split push, requiring some extra wave clear and disengage. During teamfights, you want them to take as long as possible so Orianna can apply pressure with her ball and have more time to find clumps. The way to counter this team composition is to pick champions who can neutralize Shen. Our suggestion is to run Singed top, Zac jungle, Kassadin mid, and Jhin and Soraka bottom. Singed is a direct counter to Shen, but Kassadin can also apply kill pressure on him later into the game. On top of this, Kassadin hard counters Orianna in the mid lane, although he does struggle to take lane priority early on. This isn't a big deal, as the previous team composition we mentioned doesn't really come online until after everyone has hit level 6. Kassadin is happy to know that it's likely the early game will remain relatively slow, giving him plenty of time to scale up. By picking Jhin and Soraka, it makes it easier to survive a Nocturne ultimate, since Soraka can heal her allies, while Jhin can use his ultimate from safety. As the game progresses, your goal with this team composition is to 1-3-1 or to have Kassadin assist Singed pick up some takedowns. If he's successful in roaming and taking out the enemy side laner, his team can then pressure 1 or 2 turrets simultaneously as they continue to build leads. Come the late game, Kassadin will become incredibly difficult to put up with, and the enemy team will likely have to use crucial abilities to peel him off. When they do, this opens up opportunities for Zac to jump in and wreak havoc. Alright, that concludes this video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Once again, make sure to check out ProGuides.com to take your game to the next level. We have so much content there that we want you guys to check out, and also make sure to stay tuned to our YouTube channel. Until next time, good luck on the Rift Summoners.